Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Dennis. Today's video we're going to take an older system. Case doesn't look quite that great. And we're going to transform it to something that looks a whole lot better. So stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, so here's the system we've got right here. Problem is, it's kind of bland looking. You know, don't have a transparent window or anything like that. We're going to take what's inside here. We're going to move it to our Deepcool case. I've done reviews on this before, and we'll see what it looks like when it's done. I think you're going to see a huge transformation, and you can follow along. It is not a build, just so don't get mistaken with that. It's a transformation project. And then we're going to see what you think. So the first thing you want to notice is there's really not a lot of room for cable management. Everything was kind of tucked in here. It's still pretty nice and clean, but everything, you get a little space in here, so it was tucked in there, pretty nice. So, and our power supply is quite a large power supply. It will not fit in the Deepcool 55 case. So we're going to have to start all over, new power supply, and get it inside. So that's what it looks like from that side. That's what it looks like from the back. And of course we're going to take this side off and I'll show you the inside of this. And we'll move along. Now here's a look at the inside. Okay, so this power supply is just a little too big to fit in that case. We're going to take our hard drives out. Everything is going to come out. Of course, we won't have a DVD drive because it doesn't have one in that case, so we're losing that. But everything else is going to stay the same. But there was a lot of room for a bigger card, but I used a smaller one because it's a smaller case. But we're going to take that out, and we're just going to, like I say, we're going to move it all into the new system. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect all the cables. So we'll just start with put on all your SATA cables. Okay, power supply for hard drives, so on and so forth. Alright, and you see how tight a space even this was, because it is a small case. Well, we're going to take out our hard drives. And something else I'm going to do differently is I had just regular hard drives in here. Nowadays, you want to spice it up, we're going to add an SSD to the new case. And it'll just speed it up a little bit. Okay, so we've just gone ahead and disconnected all our cables. Now we're going to go to the back, take out our power supply, and then we're going to go ahead and take out the motherboard. We're going to leave memory, everything like that, cooler. You don't have to take any of that off. We're just going to leave it right where it's at. Now our power supply's out. Okay, so our power supply's out. We'll put this back in. But first probably we'll just take out our motherboard and it'll give us more room to work with. So before you can take out your motherboard, you're going to have to take these two screws out here and take out our graphics card. So there's nothing to it, just put in your screw. Alright, being magnetic, real plus in this situation, because you can't lose your screws if you're careful. Now one little thing there, there's a little tab on the inside. You have to make sure you push that tab down in order to pull your graphics card up. Otherwise, it's because it kind of locks it in place. So once you push it down here, and this will just kind of wiggle loose. You can see it's a nice little small form factor card. It's a GTX 1050 Ti. And yeah, I like it. It's worked pretty good. Alright, now we're just going to take out our screws. This is a mini ITX motherboard. So it's very tiny. It's only got, I think, 4 screws on it. We're going to take those out. Don't forget to disconnect your fans and such. And you can actually use your CPU cooler and just lift it right out. All right. Be aware of static electricity. Make sure you're grounding yourself every time before you touch a component, so you're not worrying about that. Okay, so we've got our 4 screws out, and now you're just going to carefully keep this out of the way, and you're going to pull it out from the back. All right, where it's in the back of your case, and there you go. That's all there is to it. Very small, very tiny, but it's packed with a lot of stuff. Okay, if you want to know more about it, there is videos. You can go back and have a look. I didn't even have to disconnect this. I'm just able to leave it right there. So the last thing I did is I put the hard drive cage back in. I'll put the 2 side panels on. I'm going to leave this in here because I've got lots of them, simply because they're not being used very much anymore. And maybe somewhere down the road, we'll find a use for this again. Especially if I can find the same case, because it does come with a windowed front, so you can see inside. If I'd had that, I probably could have sold this long ago. Unfortunately, people want to see the bling today, and without being able to see it, they don't want anything to do with it. So unfortunately, that's too bad for this case, because it was a great case. We're going to move over and put everything in the other case. So we're going to move this away, and we're continuing on. So another thing I just wanted to mention that I almost forgot. Don't forget to take out your I/O shield. Okay, it just pops out. Okay, you'll need to remove that, because you're going to need that for the new case. Okay, unless of course you're putting in a different motherboard that already has it on it, or it comes with its own. Okay, so that's the last thing that comes out. Now we'll put it away. So I just wanted to show you just how small this is. So there's the power supply. It's about the size of my hand. And the motherboard, not much bigger. Actually pretty tiny. So, and the biggest part of it is just the cooler that's on here. Okay, so technically, even though this is not a full build, it is a build video. And first thing I'm going to do now that the motherboard is out of the other case, I'm going to put the power supply in this case. Now in this case, it was pretty small, so I had to go with the good size power supply. It's a 750 watt EVGA. So putting in our power supply, just make sure the back of your power supply is going to be where you're going to put your screws. Make sure that the fan is facing down, unless your case happens to allow it to face up. Feed it in through here. Your cables are already out of the way. So you can just put it in here, line everything up. Make sure any loose cables are out of the way, and then you're just going to tighten these down. Check out your holes. Make sure they're all aligned before you go putting in all your screws. Okay, power supply's in. Turned off. Make sure it stays turned off until you're ready to turn everything on. And we're good to go. Now we're going to put in our I/O shield in here, which is pretty simple. Just make sure when you line it up that you got it going that way. Okay, so just line it up like this. Make sure there's no cables in here, because there's a couple cables in this fan that may get in my way, and I may have to just move them. But in any case, it should just pop right in. Okay, our I/O shield is now in place. Now we're going to put in our motherboard. Okay, so at this point, lay your case down. Try and clear your cables out of the way as much as you can. And like I say, touch your case, touch your motherboard. Make sure it's lined up over the screws. Make sure you got your back plate on the right way. If you don't, you can always change it up. Make sure you line up all your standoffs with where you're going to screw everything in. Make sure it's in place properly before you start, and that'll save you a lot of headache. That way you'll make sure everything's lined up in the beginning. So there we go. Now we're just going to fasten it down and move on. Okay, our motherboard's in. We're going to start plugging everything into the motherboard. You're going to see there's a lot of room left. But that's a good thing. The benefit to this, when it's all said and done, when I go to sell this system, people could say, yeah, I like the motherboard, but I like everything in it, but I don't like the motherboard. Well, this has room for up to an ATX, so you can go and you can switch everything up. It gives you more room to do stuff in the case, and that way in a way it makes it more appealing. In fact, you have more lights, more RGB, the tempered glass case. That adds to the appeal as well. Put our power 24-pin power connector on there. Hooked up our 8-pin power over here. Now the HD audio, you can't really hide it very well with a small board like this. Normally it would come through here and you'd barely see it, but because it plugs in here, it's kind of visible. Not really sure I can do to hide that. Maybe once I put the graphics card in here, that'll hide it. You won't be able to see it. So all we got left is our LED connectors. Front panel connectors are down here. And our RGBs already plugged in up here. Fan, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, we're going to put these on next. And then we're going to start working on our hard drives. But actually, I think before I do that, I am going to go to the hard drive. Hard drive bays are back here, so just move these cables out of the way. And it's easy to get out of them. It's just 2 screws right here. Unscrew them, pull them out, put your hard drives in. Okay, so another little feature here. You are going to have to put the 4 screws into the hard drive. Okay, now it sets in quite a ways, which makes it nice. So when you put your hard drive in here, okay, just line it up. You'll notice when you push it into where it's going to go in and screw in, it's in there quite a ways. So once your cables are in here, you're going to have lots of room. It's not going to butt up against the side of your case at all. So that's a kind of a nice little feature of this case as well. So we took our SATA connector, plugged it in here, plugged the other one in here, and just tucked the cables in here. Now that's the SATA for power. That's the other SATA cable. They're basically the same thing, but you think they'd have changed it, whatever. So you look for the L shape, look for it in there, plug this in, here, click, and then you're just going to feed this up. That's going to go into the SATA on the motherboard. You're going to rinse and repeat twice, and one more for the SSD. Okay, so we got our SATA cables in the back, SATA cables are in here, and they're all kind of forming a nice little bond, if you will. So it'll make it less cumbersome for all your cables in your case. So now we're left with the LEDs, and then it's just a matter of turning it on and having a look. Okay, so I've been playing around with cables for a bit. Basically, your cables are 3 fans from the RGB. Plug into the extension cable here. Yeah, I know it's a mess right now. Now, this plugs in to the RGB on the motherboard, and all your other fans just plug in wherever need be. One thing I did notice is the LED strip. You do have to use the Molex for it. At least I couldn't figure out a way around it to make it work without plugging that into the Molex for power. So anyhow, we're going to straighten all this mess out, tie it all up, look nice. I'll show you what it looks like afterward, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the putting this together and show you what the final product looks like. Okay, so I just cleaned up the cables a little bit. Still kind of messy, but there's a lot of cables with this case because of all the RGB and everything that's in here. So for now, and this will close in, it'll close up real nice. I'll tuck this out of the way. But what I had to do is put in the SSD. So the SSD is sitting on the other side. I'll show you that. And it's got the plugs right here for the SATA power and the SATA for the motherboard. So I'll quickly show you that. And that's where it is right in here. You can see it there. Okay, so get the 2 cables to it. And it keeps it nicely tucked out of the way. And all I did was used motherboard screws coming from this side to just go into the holes. They're all fitted kind of nice there. And you could put another one down below here if you wanted to. And it looks pretty good. Everything inside is pretty nicely tied up. I verified all the lights work, but I'll show you that here in a minute. We're going to put the back panel on, and then we'll probably leave the tempered glass off for now, just to show you what it looks like, and then I'll put it back on and show you what that looks like as well. Alright, so you saw what it looked like before, now you can see what it looks like now. Now, big thing here was with the software here, You can, there's two different things. There's the AMD fan that's plugged into an LED header, and you have your addressable RGB LED. So you can control these to change both of them up, or you can also control this independently. Okay, your RGB strip. Okay, so I can change this independent from this, and have that going a little bit different too in the inside. So it'll change this one and that one, and then you use your button here, for at least the way I have it done, and I can change the color that I want in here. So yeah, I know I got it on pink because why not? All right, everybody. So there's the transformation from what it used to look like in the big old, well, not big, but small, black, boring looking case, to something now you can sink your teeth into. Change it up, change your colors, change the look, whole new life, and it'll be appreciated more. So, hope you like that video. If you like it, hit that like. If you don't, you know what to do. If you're new here, think about hitting that subscribe. Hit that bell for future notifications. And as always, stay tuned for the next one. Good stuff is coming up. The AMD processors have been released. I have an X570 motherboard. Won't be in the next video, but it's coming soon. And I'll be getting the processor soon too. So there will be an entire new build for that with a special case yet to arrive. And I think you're going to like that. I think you're going to think it's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me blabber on. And stay tuned for the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.